When Pearl Harbor got attacked, we got attacked. All I could hear was gunfire. The kids came back and they were being shot down by Zeros just as quickly as you could pick them out, and we had these binoculars so you could see them. And I watched one young man bail out of a plane. The Zeros took care of him while he was hanging from his parachute and machine gun till he was dead. Been 70 years since I've been back there. My trip back to Midway was the most delightful thing I've ever done in my life. Really, it's because I'm remembering these kids who gave their lives to us. And they gave me a whole life, gave me 95 years. And if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't have got to have a beautiful wife for 70 years, wouldn't have had children and things. I think it has to be retained in some manner.
Isolated at the far western end of the Hawaiian archipelago lies a pale ribbon of sand, fringed by an ancient coral reef. It is a sanctuary hidden over the horizon. From Hawaii looking west, it sits in the last of the sun at the edge of night. Where, according to Hawaiian legend, souls are born and upon death, return. Human history and natural history live here side by side. Once the site of a great World War II naval battle, today a bird's eye view reveals abandoned runways that are now home to the latest generation of flyers. Over blue lagoons, vibrant corals, and hundreds of resident dolphins. This is a story of change and restoration. A portrait of an island's past and future, and a journey to understand the importance of a lost atoll in the middle of the Pacific. Midway Atoll was the site of 2 attacks during World War II. The first strike came at the same time as Pearl Harbor.
On December 7th, 1941, Japan, like its infamous Axis partners, struck first and declared war afterwards.
Similarly, Midway was relatively unprepared, though it remained in America's control. President Roosevelt addressed Congress the day after the Pearl Harbor attack and asked for a declaration of war against the Empire of Japan.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Last night, the Japanese attacked Wake Island. And this morning, the Japanese attacked Midway Island.
Midway, because of its communications and it's this forward outpost of the Hawaiian Islands, it's absolutely vital to American security.
The war was now global, and the fate of democracy hung in the balance. 6 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Japan once again had the strategically positioned Midway in its sights. However, this time it was different. American intelligence broke their secret code and set the perfect trap.
Up until the Battle of Midway, Japan had been continuously advancing. They had never been stopped. After the Battle of Midway, they continuously were falling back. And Midway is that point where everything changes.
On June 4th, the Battle of Midway began. And by June 7th, American forces had dealt the most stunning and decisive blow in the history of naval warfare, and the turning point of the war.
The Battle of Midway is over. Our front yard is safe, but a big job is still to be done. Day after day, our patrol planes search for survivors. Every tiny coral reef, every distant mile of sea. Search for men who fought to the last round of ammunition and flew to the last drop of gas and then crashed into the sea.
Air raid sirens sounded, notifying us that the Japanese were en route. The Japanese would probably try to take the island, and we trained for that. And we were ready. We had an attitude we could meet any adversary. The old tradition of being a good Marine, why, that was prominent in our everyday thoughts. The enemy is going to die, not us.
I don't think I really thought how important it was going to be. What you're concentrating at that period of time is where you live and who you live with and what your job is.
We didn't know the details. We didn't know what we were going to do. We knew there was going to be problems, but all you're doing out there is circling.
Well, the only feeling I can remember of the actual attack was the vibrations from the bombs following, sounds of the planes diving, and machine gun fire.
At 4 o'clock, the torpedo bombers came in. And I heard the lookout say, there's wakes on the starboard side, meaning that he had spotted the torpedoes in the water, and the Hammond sank in about 4 minutes. Around 5, we saw these splashes in the water, and we thought it was material falling off the flight deck because the ship was listing. And the sailor was firing this 20-millimeter gun at the ship to get attention. And all he had on was a life jacket. He was holding his guts in his left hand and pulling the trigger with his right hand. And I'll never forget, because we came aboard, and that was on the 4th of June, and he died on the 7th of June. And that was when the battle actually ended, when we left to come back to Hawaii.
During my visit in 2012, one of the items that stood out prominent to me was the memorials that had been erected to the men that did not return from the Battle of Midway. I never could go back to Eastern Island because none of my friends returned that day.
Today, you can still feel the ghosts of the Battle of Midway among the ruins. In the buildings, which are being reclaimed by the salty sea air and the passage of time, we can still hear the echoes of our history. On the beaches sit relics of a dramatic past. The story of Midway is the story of sacrifice and commitment.
Midway goes beyond just saving Hawaii, goes beyond the valor of those men. They saved the idea of democracy. And today, both the sacrifices and the conservation story today can inspire the world.